Continuing coverage of the Midwest Gaming Classic, Jeffrey Powers here with Geekazine, and guess who's here? Jeri Ellsworth.
Trouble incarnate.
Incarnate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
For those of you who don't know, get a clue. I'm just kidding. No, for those of you who don't know, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, I've taken a lot of crazy turns in my life. I guess I'm kind of best known for dropping out of school and just doing my own thing.
Bill Gates style.
Kind of, but I got started earlier.
Okay.
At least he went off to college.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, maybe that's the key to why he made so much more money. But no, I dropped out of school, started building race cars and racing them, and did that for like 4 or 5 years, and then opened some computer stores, retail computer stores, where we used to assemble computers, and had a pretty good run on that after I finally got them going, and then that failed. And then after that...
what happened? It was ghosts. Just don't mind. Anyway.
And after that, the computer store started failing because the computer industry changed in 99, 2000. All the computers got really inexpensive, which means margins went way down, and my stores collapsed. And so from there, I took what little savings I had left, and I taught myself how to do chip design to make microchips, and busted into the industry kind of a roundabout way without going to school. And yeah, so that's the 10,000-foot view.
Good. Ghosts. There we go. And so your first project, now this is the cool part. Your first project was?
First electronics project?
Yeah.
Well, the first paint project was a solvent still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know what one you're going for,
Yeah,
but it's not.
Okay.
It was actually a solvent still, where I got paid like $10 an hour. It's just such a joke. But
what's the project that made you famous?
all right, yeah, I think my defining project was the Commodore 64 all-in-one joystick that had 30 built-in video games. Mm-hmm. So I reverse engineered the Commodore 64, put it on a single chip, and then a software team ported a bunch of old Commodore games, converted them so they had menus and stuff. And we put this together, and we, through a manufacturer, we sold it through QVC originally, a home shopping network. And then the toy company took it to Toys R Us and worldwide, and they sold almost... well, officially 750,000, but I think there was a few more from what I can gather.
I remember it in the kiosks at the mall. It was, during Christmas. Anyway, so, but it was a fun game. I remember having that myself and playing that and really enjoying the fact that somebody remembers the Commodore name and the games that we did, and not the cool little, the games that you would get from the Compute magazine. You'd have to sit there and hours of typing in. It's like, I gotta get this finished. And yeah, it was.
Then it would end with syntax error, right?
Yeah.
When you were.
Well, that's because I kept trying every single time, trying to go. Why isn't it working?
It's hard, people that are into electronics and computers are pretty much ADD. Yeah. So, what punishment that was to have 1,000 lines of basic code that you had to type in those old magazines.
Well, then it got worse because then they went into that weird. Binary code that you had to put in, and you couldn't even tell. You didn't. What does this mean? Go to 10? Does this mean? What does this mean? I don't understand it. So.
Yeah, it was all decimal values and data statements that got poked into memory and turned into actually the machine code. All the jumps and no-ops and whatever. It was pretty. And
whatever. Now you got into the pinball scene big time, and some other projects too, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm huge into pinball. I started collecting in the 90s, and then I got rid of my machines when I sold off the stores. Okay. And then I always carried one around with me for a while. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I started collecting again, and it became an addiction and got out of control. In a very short time, I had about 30 games. Okay. I also had arcade games, too. I have a lust for anything that's vector. So instead of raster scan, it just draws lines. So Asteroids, Tempest, Space Duel, in that type of game.
I remember when you were doing your streaming show and you had the brand new area that you were building up for the game room. That was very noisy, bouncy wise, but it looked like a lot of fun. I wish I had one myself. So.
Oh yeah. So I ended up getting all these pinball machines, and just recently, in the last couple of years, just because I ran out of space, there was nowhere to put machines. A friend of mine said, well, I know where there's a bar that needs a couple pinball machines. So I put a couple pinball machines in there, and I try to keep them like collector quality. So the local players really got excited about having these quality machines. And so the local players in town started talking to other bars. So then I started moving more of my machines into bars, and then I accumulated more machines and then out to bars. And currently I have about 90 machines, about 50 of them are out around Portland.
So your addiction was there and you wanted to curb it, so you decided you ended up doing something different, and then it turned out that you're getting more games out of the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's excellent. Now I have a revenue stream it's pretty sizable. Two of us there in Portland, we're doing this business now. We're splitting the work. Okay. And my friend Trish is pretty good at maintaining them also. So we just repair when come on through. Oh.
He's waiting at the office. There they go.
If you haven't figured it out, folks, we're in the hallway. We thought it would be good, but
no, this works. This works. So tell me about the pinball project. We got to see Ben Heck's pinball machine.
Yeah.
What's your pinball machine going to be like?
So I have 3 pinball machines in the works right now, 3 customs.
Okay.
I built my first custom pinball machine when I was probably 14 or 15. It was based off of a calculator for all the scoring. Okay. There's a YouTube video about that I made. And then in the 90s, I started one, which I was basing off of an existing pinball machine. So I sanded the playfield down. I know it's heresy, but there was no value in pinball machines then. Yeah. And then I made a controller for a Commodore 64, of all things, that would control all the solenoids and all the lamps. Okay. And I got all that working, and that's kind of where my businesses started falling apart. So I just kind of left it there, and I gutted it out and got rid of the machine. So a couple of years ago, I started one themed on As Seen on TV. So it's all those cheesy things that you would see on late night TV, like the ShamWows and the shake weights and stuff. And those are going to be part of the playfield. So I have a little TV already built that has a projector. So it looks like an old school, like 50s TV. There's a projector that shines on the back of the screen. There's a passageway for the ball to go through the screen, and the screen flips up. Okay. And then I have pop bumpers that are like the slap chop thing that chops up vegetables. So there's little tiny ball bearings in the top of this pop bumper thing. So when it goes up and down, these balls bounce around like it's chopping the pinball up. Wow. A lot of other things in it. I'm considering putting a clapper mode in there. So you have to play the game at some point with the clapper. Oh, so you like clap and then the flippers like flip or something like that? Yeah. Wow. That's actually pretty ingenious. I like that. Will it have like people in the background, like on the LCD background, just kind of doing their infomercial? Exactly. It's going to be all infomercial themed. So the thought is it's going to be like you and your husband are in your living room, and I made a little recliner chair, and you're supposed to land the ball on the recliner chair through this ramp system, and then that's like the guy watching the TV, and then your wife will be like, honey, go take the garbage out, and you have to try and knock him out of his chair, and then the speech in the game will be like, ah. How soon before it's done? Well, I just finished the electronics, which is actually in the 3rd machine, and it is, I'm trying some different things. There's a lot of problems with pinball machines, like there's short circuits, and there's transistors stick on that cause the solenoids to smoke and almost catch fire. So it sounds like a dangerous profession right there. Well, it can be dangerous, yeah. If you don't have a pinball machine fused right, so it blows fuses when those happen, it could start a fire. Wow. It does have 50 volts at a considerable amount of amperage. Yeah, that's true. That is true. So the control system I just made eliminates a lot of the wiring. It serially communicates to little boards underneath the play surface that controls all the solenoids and lamps and switches. and I've integrated a bunch of protection circuitry in there so it can detect short circuits, it can detect when the main CPU that's doing all the gameplay locks up and disappears, and will automatically shut off any coils that are on. Because coils can't be on 100% of the time or they start getting hot and melting.
Yeah, you don't want your pinball machine to melt at all. That's probably not good.
That's a bad idea.
So when the contest between you and Ben Heck, is there like a date that you're going to show off the pinball machines? Or?
Well, you know, Ben is getting paid to build pinball machines through his sponsorship.
Okay.
But
don't worry about it. You're good. You're good.
But unfortunately, you know, I have other things to do.
Yeah.
But we have a good time. You know, Ben and I have been buds for a while, so it's more fake. You know, like, I'm going to get you, Ben Heck. I was just over at his shop this last weekend, and we were working on his machine together. But we filmed a little segment for his TV show where I bust in the door on my roller skates, and I'm like, heckin' darn!
I think these are the same roller skates he's trying to auction off a little bit later on today.
Oh, man, I better get those.
Yeah. Well, where do people go to find out a little bit more about Jeri Ellsworth?
If you just do a search for Jeri Ellsworth, and that's Jeri, Jeri, and then Ellsworth. So YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, although Facebook's almost full for me. Yeah, I mean, I have JeriEllsworth.com, but that's not really a...
Otherwise, if you go to geekazine.com, you look on the right side, there'll be a link to Jeri's YouTube videos. So
I've been watching Geekazine for a long time.
Yeah.
Pretty early on, huh?
Yeah, you're one of the originals. Thank you very much.
I remember showing up in your chat room and talking to you about sound dampening, and you're like, who's this Jeri? Who is this?
Who is this girl? Jeri, Geek Girls. What? Wait. Any cool projects that are coming out that we should know about, or?
Well, I'm doing a wireless video. I do a lot of YouTube videos on technology, and I try and make them entertaining, like by wearing spandex or something crazy.
That's entertaining me, yeah.
Well, the last video I did an 80s montage where I was an exercise chick from the 80s and
was there background music? What a feeling.
Yeah, well,
ooch, like that.
Yeah, it had that kind of jazzy 80s exercise music. So the next one's on wireless technology. I haven't quite figured out the theme of that one. I have another one that's beyond that that's going to be an old school television that uses modern LEDs. So old school televisions, in the first ones they made were a flying spot. And they had a big disc that had a bunch of holes drilled in it. Yeah. And those holes would pass by a neon bulb that was flashing, and it would make the little pixels that you would see. So I'm going to do a modern day, what would a mechanical television be like if you had if we'd kept going.
Cool.
And my theme on that's going to be like old school newsreel, like in the movies they would do these propaganda war strip things.
And now the news.
Exactly. So I need to practice my.
Do you need a voiceover for that?
Hey, maybe I can
do
get
that. I'm very good at these types of.
Hey, that would be good. I think I've got my voiceover talent.
Yay! Yeah. Any thoughts of a Commodore 64 pinball machine?
You know, someday it would be really fun to make a Commodore themed one. But pinball machines take a long time. I'm sure Ben told you that it was hours and hours.
Not easy. Go ahead. That's okay.
You're going to have some editing to do on this one.
No, they're just going to watch and they're going to see these ghosts pass by. Okay. So anyway, that's perfect. I can't wait for all that to happen, and I'll definitely be continuing to check out the YouTube and follow you on Twitter. It's what's your Twitter handle?
Jeri Ellsworth, just all concatenated together.
JeriEllsworth.
WORTH.
I can spell. Anyway. Jeri, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Midwest Gaming Convention, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Jeri Ellsworth.
Go watch Geekazine. Listen to the podcast.
Yes, and go see Jeri because she's got more smarts than me. That's worse.
it.
Go ahead.
It's all the
More ghosts. Weird. That's an orange ghost, and that's the guy. That's the ghost that kind of tried to avoid the camera. Weird. Anyway.